And it's almost like it's like everything is so perfectly connected. It's just amazing that just how life works. I don't know. It's just I'm trying to put it into words, but it's just so amazing that I'm just starting to get a deeper sense of how life is just flowing beautifully. You know, everybody has to take a step forward. As I made that step forward, I don't regret anything because it's given me more clarity. It's more given me more of a sense of inner peace, and it's been a joy to be part of the group and meet everybody else, but also be part of I would say a succinct process that gets you somewhere. It doesn't just leave you empty and wanting to know more. It actually helps you move forward. So that's what I would share. If somebody had that conversation with me, that's what I would share because ultimately you got to move forward. And this is probably one of the best programs, I would say, even if from my background as being a spiritual coach, I would say this is something that I was seeking, and I've been really happy with what the program has to offer.
I started my journey like when I was 18, beyond reading books. Uh, when I when I was 18, I didn't know where to go or who to talk to or what to look for. And at the time, there was, and there still is, a group that called themselves the TM group, which is also called Transcendental Meditation. And that's where I first learned how to meditate. Um, there, they just teach you, and then they kind of let you go. And they emphasize experience, which is fine, but I never understood what I was experiencing. Um, and then I found myself uh, on a journey trying to understand everything, um, like reading books and going to lectures. I was pretty satisfied with TM, but I never really understood it. I learned from a lot of different sources after that, and I found the Seeker Academy, um, because one of my favorite things to do was to meditate in groups. At the time, Bastianela was advertising, looking for more students. I was pleasantly surprised to not only learn her method, but how she explains how her method works and the very small nuances of it, um, which even though the method is simple, but there's a lot of little things that can throw you off, or you realize that you're really not doing. And Vaselina is able to help identify those and bring it, to get more reality out of that meditation and have a greater knowledge of knowing consciousness.
The seeking came from wanting to understand more. And somehow I felt like I already had some innate knowledge within me that was already there, but I kind of needed some way of bringing that out. And I've had a fascination with metaphysics. I've had a fascination with life on Mars. I mean, just strange things like this. Every coach needs a coach. Every coach is always needing somebody else or some other program to gain, I guess, greater clarity, to stay on track, to be in practice. I think being in practice is good, and you tend to do that when you have a program, when you have a person leading the program, when you have a group. I tend to respond to certain people's vibration or their essence. And so with Bastianella, I realized there's something I connected with. I think it was even through one of her YouTube. videos. And then later that led me to an opportunity to have a one-on-one with her. And later I was able to then come into the group. I realized that at that moment in my life, I had gotten to the end of a road of spiritual seeking within the box that I was within. And I needed something outside of that box. And I knew there was something next. And that something next kind of aligned perfectly when I first met Bastianela and when I was first introduced to the Seekers Academy. I've done a lot of meditating, but I find that the method works really, really well for me to shift back into a state of oneness, a state of being, a state of connection, a state of inner peacefulness. And yeah, of all my seeking I've done, I've really never found something as simple and as exact as that.
My favorite thing is to meditate with different groups. That's the real reason why I joined. And then I was pleasantly surprised after that, and that's why I've stayed.
I was seeking for something more. What is that next step? And, you know, who or what would be the next best thing to work with? With the Seekers Academy, again, I think the biggest thing was the fact that I resonated exactly with the words, the nuances, the energy that Bastianella was sharing. There's some sort of sense of connection there. And of course, that's also reflective within her program. So I like that because I think when you're in a group of people that are like-minded, or I think even like vibration, if that's a word, is there tends to be that person maybe asking the question that you thought of or maybe didn't think of, but it's relative to yourself. And so the sharing within the group, obviously, I find to be on key with exactly where I am in my life, with exactly what I'm kind of seeking and wanting to know. So I find it enriching to be part of the Seekers program because other programs that I've been in are not necessarily evolving at the rate of what I was seeking and what I was hoping for. I found this to be very, very aligned with what I was wanting.
My biggest misconception was I never had an accurate definition of what it was. I read and went to many different lectures. Um, yeah, I started my journey before the internet was so strong. So, I mean, now there's like a zillion videos, but still you can get lost in them. Even teachers that go on tour, like they all have different perspectives on things, different approaches. The biggest thing that I got out of Bastilla's teachings is it's simple, but I can also identify when I do try to learn something from another teacher, which ones are relevant and which ones aren't very quickly. And there's very little guesswork on my side.
My biggest misconception that it was all in books and all in thinking or all in a mental process. And it's more experiential and it's more within than an external process, if that makes sense. Because for me, I think in seeking enlightenment, self-realization, yeah, it can be related to things that are going on in the outer world, but it's really the true inner connection with the self. And I think that's being embraced and embodied within the contextual sense of the Seekers Academy and what it's all about, because obviously it's not so much about uh, who's enlightened and what is the best book on enlightenment or the best video you can watch. It really comes down to innately connecting, experiencing it, and being it, because other than that, it's just exterior fluff. It's not necessarily something that's truly embodied. And I want to thank
Exactly.
Bastianela because I believe that's what she brings into her program. Whereas many programs I've been in the past, it was really more knowledge based. And yet that's good, but I don't think until you can have it experientially that you really touch that space of inner connection, that inner silence, that inner essence that Bastianela's program, the Seekers Academy, does.
Yeah, it was easy to show up. The method's very easy.
I found the same thing. It was just easy to show up. It it's the one thing on my calendar that I like to never miss. So yeah, it's something I look forward to.
For me, the teachings uh, is more succinct, and I can talk about that stuff. I, uh, I'm not in a period of struggle right now, um, but it did help me with a lot of things, but mostly just meditating um, quickly, just peace of mind. I'm able to keep uh, the essence of consciousness more throughout the day, and even sometimes while talking, I don't feel like I'm struggling too much.
The change that I've noticed since I've been in the Seekers Academy is I have more inner peace, more joy, a feeling of gratitude that's naturally there for all things, for life. And then that becomes, in a sense, better relationships. If it's not just a relationship with my own inner self, but it's a relationship with everybody that I come in contact with. And it's also, I realize I notice that I don't judge. I'm aware if I do, which is a big thing. But the thing that is I don't go into judgment. And I think that's also part of why I'm realizing a better relationship with everybody and everything.
Before joining is I never could know exactly what I was trying to accomplish, and now I know what I'm trying to accomplish. That would be as simple as I can put it.
Just the knowing that there was something more and I was seeking that something more. So I would say that before joining is kind of like where I was at. What was the next step? Like into my spiritual evolution, what is the next step? There was an urge to find that out. And now since joining, it's yeah, this is it. Obviously.
My biggest problem uh, was knowing exactly what I was looking for, and now uh, not only do I know it, but I know it when I have it, or experiencing it, or being it would be a better word.
Clarity, I guess. Wanting to have a deeper sense of clarity of who I am, why I'm here, what is my purpose. And so that sparked the interest in me ultimately to join the Seekers Academy.
Just an inner knowing, um, like like I said in the intro question, I've been reaching outward since 18 to other groups and people. Before that, I read a few books. It's just an inner knowing of something. Um, at times, it felt like a lack. At other times, it just felt like I want more of it when I find it, but I don't know how to maintain it or return to it at various times. Now I know how to return to it all the time.
I guess there's a little bit of what I realize in my life, a little bit of ebb and flow relative to, I guess, any movement forward. And yet, the bigger thing that keeps me on the path is I realize that I'm in, my calling is to be in service to humanity. And in order to do that, the very place I really need to work is not out there on humanity. It's really within myself. So that's the thing that keeps me, in order to be a clear vessel of the divine to express, as I'm a speaker. So in order to be a tuned instrument, it's like a tuned guitar. If it's out of tune, it doesn't play very good music. So to stay on the path is one of the key things, I think probably the most important thing. If you're going to be in any area of service, for me, it's just something that I have to do.
Uh, just how simple it is. Um, it, like when you read other people's methods, like they skirt around. Most, a lot of the people that teach it know it intuitively, but they can't really speak it, and they skirt around the real way to achieve full consciousness in any given moment. It's very hard for them to articulate exactly how to get to it, and Bastianela is able to teach it succinctly and quickly, and give you a way to reach consciousness very quickly.
Yeah, I have to kind of say that almost the same thing, but I would say delightfully surprised to know that what I was looking for in the program was exactly it's simple, it's direct, it's easy to follow. I really enjoy what Bastianella brings forth in the Seekers Academy because I find it super easy to follow. And you got everybody's got to do the work, but obviously, as a teacher, as a leader, as a person who's a spiritual coach, I find what Bastianella brings forth is a very, very easy and effective program to follow. So I'm grateful for that.
Is not knowing which stage you're in on spiritual development. Um, but my biggest problem is not understanding where I am at any given moment. And like I said earlier, now I can tell the nuances when I'm listening to a teacher or myself, which is better yet, because in the end, it's really experiential, and that's the only important part. So it's where you are, and it really helps with that. And as a tribe, keeps you out of that, uh, and that keeping it in your head. If you keep going back to the method, you stay out of those issues and keep it experiential.
I think this is a spiritual trap I know that I fell into, and I think this is something that I've seen in other spiritual teachings that once you become aware of the fact that you create your own reality, and then you realize, okay, my reality is not showing up the way I want it to show up, whether it's lack or health or relationship, financial. It's then you start to blame, like, what's wrong with me? You start to blame your own thinking process, and honestly, I would say the one realization that I've come to is something that you teach, Bastianela. It's you got to love yourself. You got to even love the part of you that maybe you didn't love. And honestly, in traditional spiritual teachings, in many cases, uh, if you got something wrong in your life, you got broken thinking. And that becomes almost blaming or even shaming the self. When you come to a realization that you're divinely perfect, even though you may have some struggles, and you can even love those struggles, you can be whole in understanding and embrace the things that are perhaps your deepest, darkest shadows or struggles. I think that to me is essentially a breakthrough because you can't, what you hate, you create. You can't hate yourself. And many of us on a spiritual journey, I think, signed up for some lives that may have some points that were challenging. But the blessing is that these are also the same points that are awakening. And the only way to that, I believe, is being able to be allowing, accepting, and loving.
Shifting into consciousness on a dime, so to speak, in the moment. Um, and yeah, and doing it on purpose, instead of, yeah, instead of like a lot of meditations, it happens. But, uh, it, yeah, you just shift into it and it's really good.
I would agree. It's the same thing. It's being able to shift and bring myself back to a state of centeredness, to a state of being, to a state of awareness, and being able to do that within an instant moment. I would also say that there's something deeper going on energetically. I would say every time that I show up to every class, and I don't know how to put that in words, but I just know it's a feeling of sacred advancement, I guess, if that's a good word. But it's a feeling of knowing that there's some progressive thing that's going on a more deeper level, just by me being participating within all these classes. I've been feeling that deeper sense of embodiment. It's progressing, I guess. And that's kind of what I'm noticing. And it's almost like it's like everything is so perfectly connected. It's just amazing that just how life works. I don't know. It's just I'm trying to put it into words, but it's just so amazing that I'm just starting to get a deeper sense of how life is just flowing beautifully.
Yeah, it's actually a deeper sense of alignment of your body mind to the nature of your true self, which is infinite, eternal, ever present peace, love, joy. So your body mind aligns with that, expresses that more and more, and that makes you feel one with the flow of life. So you're
Mm.
aligned, your body mind is aligned. And that's, it feels more effortless, more in tune, more in flow, more beautiful, more light, more easy.
Well, number one, they changed it because I didn't have that approach before. And for me, it's I understanding of if I'm always seeking clarity of self, which essentially is self-realization, I think the biggest thing is this being able to be self-aware, being able to understand at the core of everything that you are divinely perfect. You are one, you're whole, you're complete. There is nothing essentially out of place with the essence of who you are. And so to be able to embrace that and then to be able to clearly look at any nuances or things that might be emotionally there that you're still holding on to, and not go into the shame or blame, but being able to be with it, to love it, and to breathe through it, I think is probably one of the best things that I don't see this in any other program. So for me, I find a direct benefit in following the process of the four pillars. I like things that are organized. It just, for me, it just flows easier. And so the map for me is like you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. You need to have a current assessment of where you are in a way to point the direction. The method is just a simple container to be able to come back into a state of connection, of being able to embody that sense of awareness and a moment's notice. And it's a practice to stay with. I find it just super simple. And then to be able to explore maybe some of these areas, these parts of us that maybe still need to be loved, these emotional things that come up, whether we want to call them triggers or shadows or whatever that is, being able to discover that from that state of awareness. And I like the fact that in that four pillars that state of awareness or the method comes first, because you have a much better and clearer understanding of how to be able to work with yourself and being able to connect with yourself emotionally and to be able to embrace yourself and love yourself. So I think that's perfect. And then mastery, of course, is just staying on with all of that. And I believe that, as any master would say, it's not a once and done. It's a continuous process, and being in the joyful play of that process, not being hard on you if you have a bad day or you go off track, but being in joyful play of getting back on with that. So I love those four pillars, the way you've articulated that. The end result of all that is a greater sense of peace. And who wouldn't want that? And I think that's the reason why I'm experiencing life the way I am, because everything aligns to the way we are. Life shows up to, I don't get what you want, you get what your vibrational match to. So I've been finding that this process has been, again, attuning me to a greater sense of inner peace. And that's why I'm experiencing a sense of bliss. Experiencing a blissful life as the process of an inner state of bliss, if that makes sense.
The map helps you realize where you are in your journey, which some of the things that I said earlier. The method, which talked about a lot, it's so simple and effective, and it lets you shift very quickly. The integration part, I'm still integrating various parts of myself, and it's something that I'm working on, which I can do on my own at any time. But it's nice to be in an environment where they talk about it quite a bit and remind me of different integration methods. And the mastery part is just the whole thing all together, and the whole method and the integration and everything just helps me along my journey.
In order to go through that integration method, self-awareness is key, but also we have a group where expressed vulnerability is easy. It's open. There's trust there. And I think essentially most programs, if you don't have that, you're really not going to share at that deeper level. And then what good is it, right? So yeah, I think that's a very important part of it, is having that openness in the group.
Having guidance just helps with the little nuances when you're having issues applying the method or the integration. It's really hard to look it up because when you're having problems, you don't know exactly what the solution is, and even if you knew it before, and being reminded, and all this stuff is actually Bastianela is reminding you stuff that you already know, whether you study it or not. You intuitively know it. It's inside you already, and Bastianela just helps bring it out, and she brings it out quicker than if you did it yourself.
Direct guidance, I believe, essentially helps you to reassure that you're on your correct path, you're on your correct journey. Sometimes, and I know I have, and I'm sure a lot of people have been inside your own thinking process, your own mind, and it's not until you show up to a group like the Seekers Academy where you realize that that guidance that you're receiving from that is very relative to your life at that moment. I don't know how many times I've been in a group where everybody's sharing and there's just such a connection to something that's going on with me personally as well. So it's very relatable. And having Bastianella kind of lead and direct the class with that guidance that she gives really helps me to feel connected, aligned, and understanding it at a different level than I would normally have if I was alone just trying to think this through myself.
Although before I joined the class, I wouldn't have said I struggled with it, but knowing exactly what consciousness is and being in a fully conscious, aware state really means, which you can only really learn experiential, not through books, um, it is the greatest value that I got from the Seekers Academy and Best.
If I looked at my entire life, what I've struggled with is actually what I'm doing kind of as my occupation or my joy, which is I'm a speaker. So my biggest fear has always been around public speaking, which is really not a fear of public speaking, it's a fear of being judged. And then what happens is you're so deeply in that mind space that you're not an open conduit of just the flow of what a speaker really needs to be in. So I have found even since joining, I've done a lot of work in this area, but even since joining the Seekers Academy, that's gotten better. I can now go into, I actually am subtly aware of knowing when somebody's ready to reach out to me to speak. It's just that fine tuned. And I can go in front of an audience with ease and with being in a space where I can speak freely and comfortably. And it just, yeah, I'm enjoying it more. So my calling has been in that area, but I've always had that little bit of challenge there, whether you want to call it fear, but just even more attuned to my audience, to the message that I have to deliver.
I watch less videos on spirituality. That's my main thing. And I'm sure when I find material, whether it's good or not, very clear on that now. I really don't need to go outside myself to know anything more. It's all within, really.
You know, everybody has to take a step forward. As I made that step forward, I don't regret anything because it's given me more clarity. It's more given me more of a sense of inner peace, and it's been a joy to be part of the group and meet everybody else, but also be part of I would say a succinct process that gets you somewhere. It doesn't just leave you empty and wanting to know more. It actually helps you move forward. So that's what I would share. If somebody had that conversation with me, that's what I would share because ultimately you got to move forward. And this is probably one of the best programs, I would say, even if from my background as being a spiritual coach, I would say this is something that I was seeking, and I've been really happy with what the program has to offer.
The thing that I learned that I needed um, was integration of the shadow, or integration of trauma and stuff. Uh, Before I read it, but I never applied it to myself. And now I apply it to myself.
I will kind of say that the one area, even what Tate just shared, because ultimately, like I've done radical forgiveness, I've done some of those other programs. They're good, but you address it differently. So in the Seekers Academy, it's addressed, I think, in a way where people can recognize, embrace, and allow and integrate that part of themselves that maybe, and me being a man, I think men do this more, is they're more apt to gloss it over and hide it and just move on with positivity. And I have done a lot of that. So I would say that's probably the one thing that maybe I didn't realize I needed that, but yet I did. And it's been very, very helpful.
For me, self-realization is definable. Uh, Before it was kind of out there. Um, I I knew it was a goal, and in some ways I thought I had it, but yeah, and now it's definable. I can talk about it very succinctly also.
Carry water, chop wood. Or carry wood, chop water. I don't know. The process of self-realization, because I look at more as a process than an end thing, it's really the joy of being you. And there's really not a way to get there, I don't think, unless you're doing it with other human beings. We're here on a planet to be with other human beings and to be able to be joyfully, playfully evolving through that journey. And so the guidance that I would say that from Bastianela's program, the Seekers Academy, helps a great amount in that area. What I understood self-realization to be prior as well as now is probably the same thing, but maybe I have more clarity right now, I would say, about it.
I find myself in situations that I don't want to do. Um, I just shift and do a little bit of emotional clearing and then move on. Anyhow, it just changed how I do it. Um, More holistic now.
So my emotional landscape, I would say, has improved. It's always been pretty good, but it has definitely, I would say, improved from number one, from doing the method, from being having a deeper sense of awareness. But I would say at least I can pinpoint a little bit better an understanding of when something comes up and be able to sit with it, acknowledge it, and breathe with it. That I think is very helpful. And that's a good part of being part of the Seekers Academy. The Speakers Academy is the other place.
In the end, you don't need guidance, but it's good to have uh, a simple method to help realize what's true and what's not true. There's a lot of filtering, and there's a lot of people with different ideas that are contrary to just what is consciousness, even though they're saying they're teaching you awareness, but they just they're really just adding to the story of life when it's simpler than that.
How do you know what to choose, what to seek, what to find? What defines more clarity to you? If you have a sense of being lost, what is that next step for you? I would actually share a Bastianela video. Any one of them, I think, truly helps a person understand and connect. And then that would be my lead in to get them the conversation around, hey, I joined the Seekers Academy and I found nothing but perfect things that I was looking for, more deeper alignment with who I am, ability to navigate life from a state of deeper consciousness and self-awareness. The Seekers Academy is that next step.
For me, the way that the academy is different is it's simple, it's direct.
Generally speaking, most other teachings, I would say, tend to take an intellectual approach to the understanding of spirituality. And I don't think you really embody it without going through a process of deeply connecting with yourself, with your own inner self-awareness. And that's what the Seekers Academy teaches. So I would say that's first, because what else is knowledge good for? How you tend to interpolate, absorb, and integrate wisdom differently when you're self-aware than you would if you were in a state of unself-awareness. So the fact that the Seekers Academy addresses that as one of the key components of the strategy of being spiritually awakened, to deeply connect with your inner self through the method, I think is key, because then everything else comes into form beautifully.
The awareness, consciousness is definable and attainable at any time. Before it was more, I was just lucky if I got it. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't.
Number one, I'm in a program. I always feel like I evolve when I have certainty. It's on my calendar. I am connected once a week. I'm also daily being more attentive to my own process of using the method of meditation, as well as I would say I just feel like I'm moving, advancing, not just spinning. And it's been showing up even within my life. Everything in my life is going so much better.
Still integrating uh, various health issues that I've had. That's what I'm mostly integrating now, but also integrating just my relationships with other people.
More of what I would probably say uh, judgment, and not so much relationships that I have close. I feel those are great, but we all sometimes use those words, or we describe the other or label the other, whether it's a group or whatever. And I think in oneness consciousness that there is no other. So for me, the bigger thing that I've been working on quite a bit is I've been catching myself and understanding anytime I've come to judgment, whether it's being from a victim perspective or just a thing that's been happening in my speech. I'm more consciously aware of being able to integrate that. So that I feel is my thing that I'm working on now.
I feel a certain level of certainty, um, and I feel like I'm on the right path. Um, you know, need to work on integration a little bit, but besides that, I think I'm right there on target.
Oh yeah, I do feel pretty confident. My age, I'm actually really much at peace with so many things and really much grateful for my life. And yet at the same time, I'm just really, I guess, comfortable, confident in knowing that my progression, everything is just evolving divinely perfect. So I don't really worry about that. I know that being part of this program has helped me stay on track and aligned, so that there's a greater degree of comfort because of that. But yeah, I feel very, very clear and focused, I guess is a good word too, about my spiritual journey at this point.
Yes,
Definitely worth the time, the money, the energy. So much in life you don't get out of it unless you contribute your part to it. And I know those what's the three words: time, talent, and treasure. Well, you got to dedicate that all those elements of yourself to be part of the program. You can't just yeah, you just can't sit back and read the book or watch the video. It's been everything that we've done has really been well worth my time, the investment, the monetary investment, everything has definitely been well worth it. I would say, if anything, probably underpriced, considering the value that I've gotten out of it. And it's been very, very helpful. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So I'm glad I've stuck with it as long as I have. Believe me, this has been great.
biggest myth is it only happens to special people.
I agree with that. I've always had that. Yeah, that biggest myth is it only happens to special people. And because of that, that myth is you need to find that special person, the guru. And I like the guru is you, because that's the true self-realization is the in Bastianela, that's what you do. You I think bring out the best in us, and you don't sit on a pedestal. Like there are some spiritual teachers out there that either they are sitting on a pedestal of their own choosing, or the people that are following them are putting them on that pedestal, because it's human nature to seek the outside savior that instead of going within. But what your program is I would say in many ways redirecting to know that the guru is you, right? The guru is within. The guru is the self-awareness. So yeah, I would say the biggest myth, people seek the guru, seek the savior, and it's really within the person. And I would say the Seekers Academy addresses that directly. To light the spark within, I would say wherever you are in your spiritual journey, believe me, I've tried to do it alone. I've tried to read books. I've tried to watch videos. I've tried to do programs. True integration, I believe, happens when you're with like-minded people, when you're with somebody such as Bastianella that has essentially a great way of being able to help guide you through the process. I really feel that that's the reason why, yeah, there's no, you can't buy a kit. You can't download it from the internet. You've really got to be actively involved. And Bastianella obviously has walked that path, has certain insights. She's got that presence. You notice that when you first meet her. And so therefore, why wouldn't you be part of a program that's guided by a person that can bring all elements of teaching and embodiment to you, and yet at the same time, it's awakening it within you.
Helps you realize that you already have all the answers. And when she guides you, it's more of a realization of what you know. And and working with Bastianela, it just helps accelerate the process of you knowing what you already know. And you get a higher level of clarity and and thankfully simplicity to the whole process of awakening to who you already are.
The analogy that comes up to me is you if you want to master anything, you really want to seek out a master that is at least a few steps ahead of you, that actually has already embodied it and can teach you and guide you. Because other than that, you're just spinning your wheels. I tried to learn the guitar from just downloading music sheets and playing chords. And it wasn't until I got a guitar teacher that everything started advancing quicker and easier and became more fun. And I had things that I was stuck with that I was able to break through with. I would say that's very relative to Bastianella and the Seekers Academy, because you find that you will not struggle. You'll move forward. You'll move forward with grace, with ease, with somebody that I believe is guiding in a way that is embodied the love that helps you along the journey.
Uh, the Seekers Academy with Bastianella can help you with your journey to awareness.
To anybody out there who is struggling with that frustration of feeling that maybe they've been through different spiritual teachings, or maybe they've read a number of books, maybe they feel they get it, but for some reason life just isn't working out the way they want it to, or they've got some deeper urge within them that says there's got to be something more, then the Seekers Academy is definitely something that they would want to check out. I would say have the one-on-one meeting with Bastianella and decide for yourself. Watch a couple of her videos, but I really truly believe that if you're looking to go forward in life and be the true essence of who you are with a beautiful life and be able to contribute to humanity in your own special way, then the attunement that you would receive through being part of the Seekers Academy is really where it's at. I thought I was inspired by Tate because he would speak first.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there were some things that I definitely agreed with, but I don't want to repeat his words. So I'm glad we did this together, Tate.
When you were answering my question, I just wanted to say one thing that you're able to do that other teachers can't. And I actually, while you're thinking of it, I was thinking like my first lesson was TM, Transcendental Meditation, and I've never met Maharshi, the Beetle Guru guy.
Yep.
And all I did is like I just went to someone's house and he taught me it, and then I had the whole white light experience, but I didn't have anyone to talk to. It was like, and one thing that is cool about you is you let people talk to you. You don't hide yourself. But one thing about you, which is just wild, is like no other teacher is you show your vulnerability. Like like I mean, there's a few teachers out there that do it, but very few, and it's amazing, and it works for you, and I think it adds to your teaching style, and helps people realize what consciousness is in a reality standpoint, and it's not like a stage presence.
The difference between some of those other, I've watched Muji. I don't know if you've watched Muji, but I've
I
watched
like it a lot.
Yeah, I've watched the people on stages at events and watching the video of that. Do you get good information content and but yeah, but what's our group is small enough to be open and to be sharing. It's I don't know. I just feel very, very connected and love that fact because if I was 5 rows back sitting at an event with Eckhart Tolle or they're great, but the problem is you don't integrate it. You walk away with words of thought that are there that may have some benefit, but it's not. Our group is close, it's intimate, it's sharing, it's and I believe that is the best way for somebody who's seeking to evolve spiritually is they need a group, not just they can't just go to one event and expect it. They need a group to stay consistently with, and I believe that the Seekers Academy does that.
It's because it allows you progress because you bond with the group, you create this unit as a group, you open up gradually, right? More and more, and that brings to more depth and more embodiment. So it's a process of opening and integrating that is just so precious that you can't find anywhere else. You can't literally do in any other setting that an intimate group,
Yeah,
basically, because that's where the magic happens. The more one of you opens up, the more the other one feels open enough or brave enough to open up and relate to the others sharing. And that's how we go deeper and gain more and more clarity. And that's how progress, palpable progress,
yeah.
is happening.